have in the bottom left the red Terran player. This is ByuN. And funnily enough for me, I haven't casted any of ByuN's games in the build-up to this semi-final. I don't think he had a super interesting round of 16. He had a TvT round of 8 against herO, who I just didn't fancy casting compared to the other round of 8s. And yeah, we just kind of first meet him in the semi-finals, so we'll see how he's looking today as we have a look at the top right side base of herO, who's obviously being someone we did follow a little bit today. We saw him against Innovation in that round of 8 and looked pretty good there. Obviously looked, won that 2-0, but first game wasn't super clear-cut, and we'll see if herO's, love for this 3-gate robo style that he's been bringing out lately in these online cups is going to persist into this series against ByuN, someone who it feels like he plays against all of the time at the moment, by the way. I feel like herO and ByuN are playing each other on the regular because they are playing in a lot of these online cups, the ESL Opens, here the Korean StarCraft League, other qualifiers, etc. It just feels like they're consistently ending up against each other, so yeah. See what happens as we get going. Hey, Cybercore, over to the corner. And we just have our Nexus, our Cybercore, all of this coming through, everything kind of as you'd expect for the moment on the Protoss side of things. On the Terran side, yeah, an expansion. We are going to go for the Marine into Factory, so very fast Factory, and not going to be seeing a Reaper, so we're going to bypass that option to Scout. ByuN just plays greedy a lot of the time. He is actually going to just send the Marine out the front a little bit on the other side, but honestly, just super greedy. No SCV Scout. Meanwhile, herO no Probe Scouts. They're both just playing kind of greedy and just kind of playing the risk of, well, we'll just sort of see what happens here as we go through this game number 1. There's the robo from herO, man. He just loves it. It's like he's making me feel like a robo opener is just meant to be the way you open in this matchup, and it's really not. That's really kind of meant to be the rare occurrence. It's really not meant to be the normality, and yet he is making it the normality, right? He's making it the norm, which is obviously just absolutely wild. Probe still mining away, just going to see the battery coming up, just going to be seeing the robo facility coming down. All of this getting set up here for the moment. Okay, we'll be finishing soon, just going to be seeing the Observer still chrono boost now. 2 extra gates on the way in, and our probes building up as well, so a lot of setting up still. There's the 2 extra gateways so that herO can pressure alongside with the prism he's getting out of the robo facility. So again, it's just something we've come to expect of herO. Apparently this is how he plays. It's just so weird to see someone suddenly commit so heavily to one single star and just be like, yeah, this is what I'm doing in this matchup. And he did obviously mix up against Innovation. He played the Phoenix on the second map that they played against each other. So that was a little bit different, but I don't know, man, like, still feels like this is very much so a case of he's just doing it so much more often than I'd expect him to even then. Wouldn't mind obviously trying to get some damage done, forcing the probes to stay split away from this base. Ooh, a moment longer and maybe we could have got the probes transferring down. We do kill one of the mines with the probes surrounding the main, as we have the other Widow mine going off, and we will save that one. The Medevac healthy enough to get out of there. Obviously no blink to chase with or anything because you've opened robo, and here's your damage attempt on the other side of the map. 3 adepts. And it gets shut down immediately by the Marines just being in position and everything else pulling towards that to help make sure that will be a hold, will be a defense, will be a shutdown without further complications. Medevac trying to find the drop for the mine, but the mine's low HP, so if there's a Stalker there, it's going to go down if it drops out. That's why he didn't drop it off and just try to burrow it. So just going to, would rather wait for a while and just kind of bring it back in later, right? Say, hey, if I can bring this back in further down the line, that's wonderful for me. Then I can maybe actually get some damage. Kills off an observer here in the main base, I believe, as well, so... But no, he actually just straight up killed off the warp prism. My apologies. Wow, so the prism dies. It's obviously a big pick-off too, so... Yeah, this just gets completely shut down. herO's aggression just not achieving anything at all, and I'm always so worried about these builds, because now the prism is dead, there's nothing keeping ByuN at home, and he can waltz across the map without issue, I think. So, this feels like it's going to become a problem for herO very shortly. As the Viking comes through and is going to nab that observer, so the observer will go down and drop a few more gateways into place. The charge still coming up. And yeah, a couple of gates to charge, all of that coming through. The Adepts are going to try and shade their way into the main base. Will not quite succeed there. And to me, it's just been a question of when does ByuN decide to move out? When does he feel as though he can get across to the other side? Not just yet. I mean, to be fair, he's missing his upgrades, and herO, with that, is actually going to have time to, well, get to Storm, probably. So, Storm likely something he can reach now. Two Stalkers ping away, Viking taking some damage, and that Prism will load up down to the corner. Pulls away over to that left-hand side. 3 Adepts. We'll just get a chunk of SCVs, so a bunch of them dropping off already. I mean, that's nice, right? I mean, herO definitely need to do something. The second coming of the Prism has at least been somewhat a success. Otherwise, this could have been a very sad situation. Our Adepts, it's going to shade down to the south. The Viking will come chasing the Prism. Again, Stimpack, +1 attack, Ghost Academy. All of this coming through as we have a group of Zealots warping in. The High Templars will begin to move out. We morph in one Arc, which gives a bit more stability to the overall army, but obviously you do want some of these High Templar to remain as Templar with the energy to Storm. So that's going to be a major part of how you try to deal damage throughout the course of these upcoming fights. Two Medevacs actually slip over all the way to the right side. Zealots, a Stalker, joining up together as well. And it's actually going to be herO to be the aggressor. Outside of the dropships, obviously. So herO to kind of go for the big major push. Meanwhile, the counterattack of ByuN already launches, and that's an instant recall from herO. Well, you already see that as a win as ByuN, right? Because now he's going to be able to trade for a few probes anyway. And on top of that, he's, well, forced the entire army, or half the army back home. Now the army on the map is not realistically a threat. That was a Storm drop, though, that just hit in the natural expansion. ByuN pulls away, but he does lose 7 SCVs. Now these other units move forward. That's not a good call. And the Bio can chase the Immortal down, too. So everything in the middle of the map dies. And that's a horrible decision from herO to have moved forward there. That was just not going to do it for him, unfortunately. And, loses out in a big way. The Storm drop opening was good. Just everything running forward with that. Yeah, not ideal. I mean, herO just didn't have enough units there to realistically be scary, right? That's the, kind of the problem with the recall. You took so many of your units away. But yeah, following up was pretty much always going to be kind of a, a scary part of this, so. I was surprised. I mean, I know ByuN had the drop on the map, but I'm almost surprised about how passive he's being, right? He's just sat back, playing very chill, very happy, very content. Scans the observer down, the Prism. Gonna be shot by the Viking. Man, it's a minefield out here, quite literally. There's Widow Mines ready to blow that Prism up, should it just go slightly the incorrect direction at any point in time here. And obviously getting to the point where he's got these ghosts as well. EMP is a huge way to help limit this Protoss army, especially when it's very Archon, Immortal, Zealot focused. Ghosts are such MVPs in fights like this. Obviously, potential to knock down High Templar before they are able to storm as well. And he just splits against those storms. Wow. The first one he was just splitting against nicely. The second one should have never been dropped by herO because ByuN was already splitting from the first. It was just too close. Maybe if he thought ByuN was going to split up and left, then it would have actually been quite nice, but ByuN just didn't split in that way, so it kind of made herO look a bit silly. We just need an EMP right now, and the High Templar all clumped up, and there it is. And now these Zealots and Archons running into this fight surely is not a good idea. We even have more EMPs. We're going to drop down the second layer of Archons, so they will melt. And so will herO's chances of staying in this game. He just leaves, and ByuN is going to open up with the 1-0 lead in this best of 3. Once again in the future, help us towards the 100,000 follower count as well. We're just 2 and a bit thousand away. Top right. It is going to be the Blue Protoss player here, herO. Down 1. Bottom left, Red Terran from the Shopify Rebellion. ByuN. And ByuN looks like really somewhat unstoppable online lately. Like, he's just been so freaking consistently good. Been great to see as we have our Nexus Chrono boosting away. In the main base, Rax gas coming down from ByuN on the other side of the map and just having everything settled here. Again, that Chrono boost allowing for some extra probes to pop out. ByuN is just gonna rally over to this refinery, jump into it. Some gas will just mine on and along. Zealot and the Cybercore on the way down. Big map, so running a Zealot across the map is not something which is really great to do on a map of this size. Obviously, if these two both decide not to scout, the Zealot might just be something of a safety thing. If something super weird happens, maybe if he scouts proxy and is natural, he keeps the Zealot. Otherwise, he just cancels the Zealot and uses the 100 minerals for the Nexus. Like I was saying, it was weird to see the Zealot, and it makes sense that he actually cancels it rather than keeping it, because it made no sense to keep. So, yeah. Reactor will build on the barracks, so get that going early once again. Marine into that reactor. Factory already on the way up. ByuN speeding along into what can be, you know, a little bit of aggression nice and quickly, because again, you skip out on the Reaper. Everything is sped up by just 50 gas, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to be substantial. You know, timings will be that little bit quicker. But again, you know, the payoff is that you don't get as much information. You don't get to play with the knowledge of what your opponent is even roughly doing because you don't have the Reaper. You don't even get to see what kind of first units are coming out of the gateway. So even if you didn't get a scout on the tech, being able to see what the first, you know, units are at the gateways, that alone can sometimes tip you off as to possibilities. You miss out on all of that when you play without the Reaper, of course. So it's not a free commitment. It's not a free speed up of your build. It is at that cost of being a little bit more vulnerable to certain attacks, perhaps. Stargate was the choice again, so, I mean, hero's playing kind of the same best of 3 he played against Innovation earlier, where he played the, you know, 3-gate Robo harassing to Storm game 1, game 2 just going to play Phoenix, and I imagine it's going to end up Phoenix Colossus. Obviously, he was winning that series against Innovation, though. He's losing here against ByuN. He needs to make sure he can find this game victory to stay in this, as right now we're here in the semifinals of the KSL number 1. Phoenix heads down to the bottom left as the Widow Mine does fire. So Phoenix takes a shot. Another Widow Mine in the back of the main base is going to be burrowing up over there as well. Viking on the way out. SCVs in production. Attack Lab on the way. And that's what's going on for now. Is we even going to see a third CC though, so ByuN is just going to macro it up. And this first Phoenix comes across the map this game. So last game we kind of hid the Phoenix a little bit more. This time he actually kind of wants to know what's going on, so he reveals the Phoenix very quickly. Maybe not as afraid of aggression because, well, you know, or being able to jump on a mine drop because, well, the map's just that much larger. So yeah, just instead kind of showing the Phoenix, revealing that it's Phoenix for the cost of being able to scout. Raven's coming up, and the Cyclone will pop. A couple more Marines are on the way. Factory moves off over to the left-hand side, and the few Phoenix still just linger around the front a little bit, try and really figure out what they want to get up to. Probe Bay, Gateway, all of that coming out. The probe coming in as well. Take a couple of probes, in fact. All coming through for the moment. So yeah, ByuN just going to get the Raven out, obviously, against this, kind of Phoenix style. I will always say that the Raven is vulnerable. I actually think nowadays I'm going to think back to Innovation the other day when he literally hit his Raven behind the base. Like, Innovation put his Raven all the way over here to keep it alive against the Phoenix when he was playing. What was that? Was that against Stats, I think it was, when we were casting those replays a couple days ago? Yeah, that was kind of funny, actually. That was quite amusing. So yeah, that's one for the records. I feel like that's what I'm going to think of right now. The extents you must go to protect the Raven when Phoenix are on the map. Because obviously the Phoenix can realistically kind of fly through here and just jump on the Raven. And, sometimes they don't even lose a Phoenix while doing that. Kind of depends how good you are at moving it and your units target firing kind of immediately as the Terran player. So, definitely some interesting options there, as another missile turret will come down over on the side. A couple of depots will continue to set up. And 2 more barracks in the main base. We obviously are on 3 command centers, which means, the 2 extra barracks just takes us up to 5 in total, which is very comfortable for just a 3-base economy. So yeah, just basically getting our production online for the game right now. Things coming through, and a couple of SCVs will be dropped. The Cyclone staying locked on and gets rid of that Phoenix. 4 SCVs going down. Obviously, I mean, that's nice, because every time you're getting rid of some SCVs, you're slowing down that economy, and the Phoenix are being useful. But losing the Phoenix obviously really isn't great, and that's where the cost is not really worth it. And losing another one again, man, this is really bad for herO. He's got 1 Phoenix left on the map, and the problem with this is you're playing Phoenix Colossus, so you don't have a lot of the other support for the Colossi you would usually have at this point, because you built the Phoenix instead. And now the Phoenix are gone, to the point where it's not even worth rebuilding the couple you may have lost initially. And in fairness, I don't think herO was building up a lot of Phoenix. I think he was actually going to probably stand on 4. It wasn't like one of these times where people go up to like 10 Phoenix or so to support the Colossus army, but yeah, there's still going to be a timing window here, I feel like, where there's a lot of tech invested into by herO early that's now not done enough. And so ByuN should have something of a timing to maybe take advantage of that. Resources lost is obviously heavily in his favor. 600 minerals so early in the game does add up. Some scout marines as ByuN goes across the map. 1-1 finish from him. You look at the units right now. There's 2 Colossi and 6 Zealots that are about to have charge, but charge isn't ready yet if this fight breaks out immediately. And you've got a full energy Raven that the Phoenix can't take down. Well, the High Templar is looking for the Raven. Obviously hit that feedback and you instantly take away the ability of the interference matrices, for example, and just all that kind of stuff, so you make your life way better for you. Obviously, ByuN didn't commit across. I think it's smart. I think if the Raven was guaranteed to get there in Matrix, it would have been great, but with that High Templar look, and if it does feed back the Raven, I think it can be a hold from herO, so I don't mind that ByuN took the more cautious route here in game number 2. ByuN's not as YOLO as he used to be. I think it's one of the big reasons he's improved so much as a player lately. He's still got that aggressive nature. He's still got that ability to turn up the aggression and to really play a very, high action, high octane. But he's also got that kind of style. He's got that ability to kind of just be like, no, I'm going to back it up right now. Let's play for the longer game. But moments like this, he sees the opportunity, gets forward there, looks for the disruptor. Didn't quite find it, though. I didn't mind him testing the waters, because that's the moment that can absolutely slip away from the Protoss player. If you just get rid of the Disruptor, then the Colossus follows. Suddenly they're down a lot of the tech units that they're meant to have after what we've already talked about not being a great start. Then it becomes a whole bunch of interesting scenarios that the Protoss has to dig themselves out of. Colossi still setting up in the center, just going to be seeing a few probes. Continue along. Over to the sides. And that next is going to be finishing up on the 4th base. That wrapped up as well. Cannon still on the way out. A couple of ghosts sniping up some of these Zealots. So a couple more kills already being made there. And everything just gathering up as you have a ByuN able to kind of push down this ramp cannon. Potentially in a little bit of trouble. Cyclone staying locked on. And a couple of Archons are just about able to back away too. So doing a good job of things here. The Medivacs will load up. Going to make their way around the right-hand side. Away they go. Boost up the right. Trying to get past. It's a risky play if there's anything they can get underneath. Obviously, we're playing a game where there's no blink and stuff, right? But at least not yet. And he knows that, but even if like there's just enough like Archons or Stalkers that just walked underneath, that would have been a lot of losses. Now Hero has to respond to this in the main base, and it does get awkward for him. At the same time, ByuN's threatening with the rest of the army, which is swinging around to actually go onto the base we just flew over. I almost wonder if it would have been good for ByuN to just lift up against these Colossi, then drop this base, because then he would gather all of his army in one place and can maybe just overwhelm. I mean, it feels like this force is already doing well enough. A single Marine to the Disruptor obviously isn't too much of a loss. It feels as though ByuN's actually just going to keep on moving through this. He's actually doing very well, taking down a bunch of the expensive units here, and still just being annoying with the main base drop. The main base drop, I wouldn't say has done loads, but it obviously did get quite a few probes. It didn't kill any units off, but that's been kind of fine. These two Disruptors may just have to be the last stand here from herO. But I think we're asking for too much of a miracle to happen against someone that micros like ByuN does. You know, maybe if ByuN really messes up, and it happens, right? But not every day. herO continues to lose workers, 44 dead probes. ByuN storming through here in game number 2, and yeah, just moving his armies around. Honestly, still, again, I'll just recall the start was just not good from herO, right? Talking about an opening where a lot of his Phoenix went down for gaining very little. He wasn't in a pretty position to start off with, but obviously as the game progressed, it didn't get any better for him, as these few units might have actually reinforced him, been enough to just continue to kill off some tech units there. Instead, ByuN had already lifted half the units into the Medivacs, and they were off toward the main base, so he won't end the game right away with kind of killing everything, but herO says, yeah, I'm not rebuilding off of this, so he will just GG out. For a moment, it looked like he was ready to go chase after the main drop and somehow stay on this on 2 bases. The reality is this is obviously just over. GG's.